Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Local News. 6 more people who tested positive for COVID-19 in Saskatchewan have died. There are 309 new cases, including 29 in the Northwest. 4,156 cases are considered active, with 559 in the Northwest. 207 people are in hospital, 11 of those are in the Northwest, including 3 in intensive care in our zone. 412 more people have recovered, and 24,575 people have been vaccinated. And the city has released its findings from the 2020 Business Survey, and Eric Bay has more on the priorities of Lloydminster businesses.
In the city's second annual survey, businesses' satisfaction with the city was nearly identical to 2019, despite the current pandemic conditions. The pandemic was apparent in businesses' concerns as internet access topped the list, and Councillor Jonathan Torreson believes it will continue to be a priority in the future.
Many businesses have started to decentralize, and they realize they don't need as much of a bricks and mortar footprint, that you're going to see them move towards something where people have the ability to work from home, and having good internet services and good virtual private networks so that they can connect with their business and connect with the cloud is so important.
Another priority to emerge from the survey was road maintenance, and the city will be taking steps to improve infrastructure this year, including major repairs along Highway 16 this summer.
Certainly the internet is one that's outside our control, where the roads are within our control to the budget. And I think people have to be realistic that we can't fix every road, but we'll try to do the best that we can do.
The biggest capital items that we are doing this year and putting our COVID funds towards are road work related items. So it's something that we're conscious of and we have to continue to improve on.
One surprise in the survey was the outlook of businesses heading into 2021, with higher optimism among respondents compared to the 2019 survey.
We're all kind of living in this right now, and every week it either feels a little bit better or a little bit worse, but we're all just getting through it and keep pushing forward and trying to do the best we can as far as, observing COVID protocols and social distancing. So it's hard to say whether or not that had an effect on the businesses' respondents that week.
Council says it will continue to engage with local businesses as the city prepares for economic recovery, with vaccines on the way. Eric Bay, Primetime Local News.
The Royal Canadian Legion Branch 39 has found a nice way to thank veterans and RCMP for their service. We chat with the treasurer for more on a free roast beef dinner they're offering this Saturday.
I'm chatting with Jim Leckie, the treasurer with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 39. How are you today?
I'm fine.
So coming up this Saturday is a roast beef dinner for veterans and RCMP. Can you tell me more about this?
Well, the dinner is open to the public. It's a pickup only because of the COVID thing. We can't have the branch open to the public, but it's $15 a plate. But we're veterans and RCMP personnel are free to come to take access for this dinner. The reason for that is because we want to find out how many veterans we do have in the community and how many RCMP and ex-RCMP we do have in the community. So we're having this free dinner and hoping they will come out and let us know who they are and where they are, because the Legion is dedicated to the service of veterans for anybody that needs our help. So we have to know who they are and where they are in order to do what we're supposed to do in the community. Now, we're also allowing these people to join the Legion as a member and take part in our social activities and our community service activities if they want to. And we are offering the veterans and RCMP and former RCMP the opportunity to join the Legion for free for the first year. Normally it would cost $60, but we'll pick up the $60 for the first year in order to introduce them. And of course, the Legion has been around in Lloydminster since 1926. And we've gone through a lot of members, and You know, back when I first came here, there was a lot of veterans from World War II, and they were easy to contact because they were native to this community. And right now, people that are coming and going, and there's a lot more, uh, how would you say, buoyancy in the travel and living of veterans, and so we don't know who they are and where they are, and this is why we're doing this. We would really like to find them and have them participate in our Legion if they would.
And and how was the reaction from residents been like from posting about this free dinner online on Facebook?
Well, we've had dinners. We just reopened in October, and we had a dinner in October, and we had another one in November, and the reaction has been really good. The community is happy to see the Legion back open and going. It was closed from March through to October, and I think the the Legion does play a big role in the community, uh, because simply by being there, you know, and we have supported a lot of projects over the years in the community, and there's some of them still bear our name. But uh, I think that we want to keep it going, and uh, we don't want to be identified as an old codgers club, which sort of us silver-haired people give that opinion, but it's really not that way. We'd like to have a lot more young veterans uh, take part.
And what are all the options for this dinner for veterans in RCMP for people that want to come and pick up a plate?
Well, they just have to phone the Legion 306-825-2521 and place an order. And with the veterans and RCMP and ex-RCMP, all they have to do is show up and pick the dinner up, and you make arrangements for what time you want it when you place the order. And when you pick it up, in order for it to be free, you just show your ID and go away with a nice hot beef dinner.
And besides this, a free dinner that's coming up, what else has the Royal Canadian Legion been doing for the new year and throughout the pandemic?
Well, we we have had some financial woes, and in the last 2 or 3 years, and uh, the provincial command intervened in August, and we had an election, and some of us old former executive went back into service, and since then we've been able to turn the thing around to the point that we're back in the black for 2020, and we want to keep going, but we're very limited in what we can do with this COVID thing. Like, we can't have our dart clubs, we can't have anything going that with any social contact, really. And so we have on Fridays and Saturdays had the club room open, and people have been coming, and we have our meat draws, and we have our Nevadas, and the people that come to the club are having fun, but it's not like it used to be because of this COVID pandemic. But on the other hand, we want to keep the Legion going despite that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Jim.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
It is time now for this week's retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
This week in retrospect, with firearm regulations at the forefront of everyone's mind, we look back to a similar situation in '96.
Jail time is one of the key elements of the gun control bill, which received royal assent last month. Starting this week, committing a crime with a gun will result in a mandatory sentence of at least 4 years. And sexual assault, robbery, and kidnapping involving a gun, which carried no previous sentence, now carries a mandatory 4 years.
There's been a request for this for a long time, and I don't know anyone that's unhappy with the increased sentences for these serious offenses using firearms.
But local gun dealers and owners believe criminals aren't the only ones being punished. What about hunters and target shooting? Many say the new bill is the government's way of showing that their goal is to eventually prohibit guns in Canada. Mandatory registration of firearms will be phased in over the next several years.
I think the government is trying to get rid of our guns, and they're not saying too much, and they're just going to make it real tough for somebody to own a gun, and they're just going to put them aside, get rid of them. Everybody that comes in is kind of grumpy about it, and I don't know whether they're going to comply with it or not, but it sure doesn't sound like it.
And in 2001, the Lions Club of Lloydminster hosts its 9th annual telethon.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for coming out here to the 9th annual Lions Telethon here in Lloydminster.
Another year and another successful Lions Club telethon in the border city.
Final total. What do we got? $21,300, folks. Round of applause.
Thank you to everybody.
Well, I think obviously we'd like to raise as much as possible, but certainly we weren't unhappy with the amount we raised.
Not only were there numerous donations made,
or we want to make a presentation to the telethon for the evening's activities and for the year's activities.
There was also lots of local entertainment.
Oh, Melina, clap your hands and twirl. Oh, Melina, put your hands on your head.
And that's it for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Now our Jace Mackey will take a look at your weather forecast.
Thanks a lot, Jasmine. Right now, if we take a look at our current conditions here in Lloydminster, we're sitting at 0 degrees with some cloud coverage, but the winds coming in from the southwest at 22 kilometers an hour, making things feel more like -6. As we take a look right now across the region, right now in here in Lloydminster, we're sitting at 0 degrees. Up in Cold Lake is sitting at 3 degrees. And 2 degrees in Edmonton and Red Deer, 5 in Athabasca, 9 degrees in Edson and Rocky Mountain House, and 4 degrees out in Jasper. So we take a look here into Saskatchewan. 1 degree is in Middle Lake, -5 in Prince Albert and Melfort, and -2 in Saskatoon and North Battleford. Speaking of North Battleford, taking a look at things overnight, going to be seeing some icy conditions and -9, but things will warm up for the morning as we see a daytime high of -3 tomorrow in North Battleford. As we take a look at Cold Lake, currently sitting at -3 overnight tonight, they're going to be seeing -8, and things will warm up for the morning at sitting at -3 in Cold Lake. Here in Lloydminster overnight tonight, we're going to be seeing the chance of some flurries or some freezing rain coming down tonight and sitting at -16. Things will warm up slightly in the morning and we'll be sitting at -15, and there's still a chance of some freezing rain or flurries as we wake up tomorrow. As we take a look across the region, there are lots of wind warnings up in the Cold Lake Bonnyville area, also out past west of Edmonton, and also here in Lloydminster and going into Saskatchewan. We could be seeing winds as high as 90 kilometers an hour in those regions, so make sure that you keep that in mind tonight. That's a quick look at your first weather forecast. We'll have more news after the break.
Welcome back. 1 in 6 people over 60 experience abuse, and a local organization is hoping to educate the public about elder abuse in the hopes of preventing it. Jace Mackey has more.
I'm joined today with Amber Fast and Charlene Rolwine from Lloydminster Elder Abuse Prevention. Thank you, ladies, for taking some time to talk with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So my first question was just, what is Lloydminster Elder Abuse Prevention?
So it's a committee that was started probably about 3 or 4 years ago. There was a group of community agencies that came together that through a grant wanted to be able to create a strategy and bring awareness and to the prevention of elder abuse in our communities. It's one of those issues that really don't get talked about enough. And, with our growing populations of older, seniors in our communities, it's being recognized worldwide that elder abuse is certainly underreported and doesn't get talked about a lot.
And so for people who maybe don't know much about elder abuse or have heard it, but don't know that much, what is elder abuse, and is there like different types of it, and can it fall under many different kind of categories?
The definition, I guess, would be any action or action that results in harm or distress to an older person. So this can be physical, emotional, financial, neglect, could impact their human rights, or it can even be sexual. This can come from a caregiver, it can come from a spouse, it can come from a friend or a complete stranger. But the thing is, we want people to know it is there.
And what are ways that some people can recognize elder abuse?
For some instances, it could be somebody who, maybe was really outgoing and then all of a sudden starting to pull back, maybe not being engaged as often with, people in their lives. People within the bank system can be seeing something that's happening to their accounts. Somebody's always coming in with them and withdrawing large amounts of money. So, as a community, we can certainly look for signs that are occurring with that person, whether, you have that close personal connection to that individual, or just even, businesses around the community that might see something that's happening.
And what are ways that people can go about preventing elder abuse, or if it's happening, what should be the next steps that they take?
Stay in contact with any older people that you know, right? Check in on people. Check if you are an older person, check in on your friends. Stay educated. So one of our initiatives is to share any education, whether it be workshops or anything that come up in the community for not only seniors, but for caregivers, so they're able to cope better with dealing with people that might have dementia or things such as that.
Leap put out a awareness video on Facebook recently. Can you just tell me why that was important to put out that video to kind of showcase this issue to the community?
So one of the things that we found, and, as part of our research, it is one of those issues that really doesn't get talked about a lot. And one of the things that we wanted to be able to portray is seniors talking to seniors and really getting that conversation started. So the video was really to bring awareness about what are other seniors saying about this issue and what is their perspective on it. So we really wanted to kind of start that there in making sure that, it's not just professionals saying that this is happening, but we actually are seeing that demographic witnessing it within their own age group. And, we really just wanted to bring that forward, really mostly just to start that conversation and to really draw people to the information and resources that we have now listed on our LEAP website, and also draw them to that Facebook page so that we can start that conversation and start making these connections and getting that awareness out there.
Well, I appreciate you both giving me some time today to talk about this important issue, and hopefully this creates a conversation and more people are aware about just being observant and helping people around them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having us.
Now here are your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
The The Edmonton Oilers have dropped another game to the Montreal Canadiens, now sitting with a record of 1 win and 3 losses. Evan Kenny sits down with a Montreal insider breaking down last game.
Well, after a 3-1 win for the Montreal Canadiens over the Edmonton Oilers, I'm pleased to be joined now by the play-by-play man for the Montreal Canadiens with TSN, Brian Mudryk. Brian, thank you for taking this time.
My pleasure. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. Now, Brian, obviously 2 back-to-back wins for Montreal over Edmonton. I guess just from your perspective, what did you like to see from the Canadiens in those games?
I think their 5-on-5 play was really strong. They've been known for that for a long time. The penalty kill certainly came to the forefront. If you'll remember, Oiler fans, I mean, the Oilers' power play last season was lethal. Number 1 in the NHL. You had Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, obviously 2 dynamic players. Draisaitl number 1, McDavid number 2 in points. And that power play, it was usually lights out. It wasn't if, it was when they were going to strike. And in the game last night, I don't know the last time you could say the Edmonton Oilers 0 for 7 on the power play. That's unheard of. And listen, that's full credit to Montreal and their penalty killers. They have a lot more depth this year. Claude Julien has always had that defensive structure, but they got a lot of depth. They got a lot of good additions, a lot of great players. And to keep the Oilers from scoring on that power play was dynamic. And that's back-to-back games where you have Draisaitl, McDavid not scoring goals, finding the back of the net. And you got to tip your cap to Jake Allen. He's making his Montreal Canadiens debut. He was brilliant. He didn't make a lot of flashy, crazy, great saves, but he was very solid. He did just what he's supposed to do. Back up Carey Price, give Carey a chance to get rest and feel rested through this very tough, tight, compacted all-Canadian season with an all-Canadian division.
Now, Jake Allen, as you mentioned, in his first start there, close to getting his first shutout with the Canadiens as well, just that close. And unfortunately, Devon Shore had to score that shorthanded one. But Brian, in this season where games are so close together and there's so many back-to-backs, just how important will those goalie tandems be for teams?
Oh, I think it's massive. My colleague, Jamie McLennan, his opinion is that the Montreal Canadiens have the best 1-2 punch in the NHL. Not cheap, mind you, but maybe the best. And having Jake Allen come in, if you remember the bubble in Edmonton in the playoffs, Carey Price has some of the best goalie numbers in the playoffs. Obviously, they beat Pittsburgh in the play-in round and then lost to a very good Philadelphia team. But you need that combination. A lot of things are going to happen. Obviously, as you mentioned, tons of back-to-backs, Evan, that's going to happen. You also have injuries. Maybe a groin flares up. Goalies, you never know, right? You tweak something, and you're going to need 2 reliable goalies. I think the Edmonton Oilers are a good example on the flip side of that. Mikko Koskinen's had to carry the load with Mike Smith on long-term injured reserve. Stuart Skinner, the Edmonton kid, their backup, he's never played in the NHL. Troy Grosnick is the guy they picked up on waivers. I think he's got 2 games of NHL experience. So a lot of waiver moves for goalies this year. You're going to see that happen a lot, I believe, with this taxi squad. And also, let's not forget, you have to keep in mind that we have another NHL franchise joining us, Seattle, for next season. And protecting your goalies and not losing a goalie to the expansion draft is also something on the minds of general managers. So lots to think about when it comes to the goalies. And specifically, you talk about Montreal. I think they're in really good shape right now with Carey Price and Jake Allen.
Now, Brian, to kick off yesterday's game, the first goal of the game was also the first goal of a young man's career in the NHL. Alexander Romanov scored his first one in the NHL there. I mean, just watching him on the ice, he seems so poised for such a young guy already. Brian, what do you think his ceiling is in the NHL?
As high as this ceiling here. I talked to Claude Julien about him before the game yesterday via Zoom call, which is our new world right now. And he loves his excitement. He calls him sort of like a jumping jelly bean. I mean, the kid is the first on the ice. He's the last guy off the ice. He has so much exuberance. And that's the one thing Claude said, it might be one of the things that's slowing him down is the fact he gets too excited in situations. But Claude wanted to stress he loves that about a young player and a young defenseman. You'll remember he's a little older, and he played in the KHL. He won a Gagarin Cup, which is their championship. He was the top defenseman at the World Juniors a few years ago when it was held in Vancouver. He's got a great hockey pedigree as well. We mentioned on the broadcast last night, his grandfather, he won Olympic gold for Russia, 6-time gold medalist at Worlds for Russia. His father, 11 seasons in the KHL. So this young man, he's got a great pedigree. He looks very poised. He's averaging over 18 minutes of ice already per game. I know it's early, but there are a lot of things for Habs fans to be excited about when it comes to Romanov.
Now, Brian, final question here. I'm a big fan of old school hockey personally, so seeing Brennan Gallagher and Darnell Nurse go at it was just a joy for me. I mean, you never want to see somebody get hit from behind, but just that aggression and whatnot, I love to see. Now, with 7 more games between these two, I guess just how exciting will those rivalries be? I mean, not just between these two teams, but throughout the league, just those rivalries growing.
Well, not so great for Oilers fans if this pace keeps up the way Montreal's outplayed them, but it's fun. It's outstanding. I think big picture here and big perspective, I know personally, I feel so lucky and blessed to even be calling games right now. I mean, we have a world out there where there's people struggling, trying to get food on the table, wondering their next paycheck or a job or sickness, and people who've been affected by COVID. So first and foremost, I think the players, myself, I feel absolutely blessed that we have a shot to be bringing our fans hockey. I say it's a privilege even during the best of times, and it's a real privilege to bring it now. I think for people at home watching with maybe not a lot to do and a lot of lockdowns, depending where you are across the country, watching NHL hockey, all these Canadian rivalries will be fantastic for fans to maybe get a bit of a break from their day-to-day grind for our frontline workers, healthcare workers, people working in grocery stores for us, maybe for them at the end of the night to kick back and watch their favorite NHL team. You know what, that I feel honored to be a tiny part of that. So for fans, the all-Canadian division is awesome because you don't get to see Montreal and Edmonton, and you know firsthand when these teams meet, you know, that Western road swing for the Habs, usually just before Christmas time, it's exciting because the Habs in general have fans right across the country. But for 9 meetings, it's pretty cool. I know I'm jacked up for it, and it's going to be really fun and a real privilege to call these games this season.
It should be fun for the rest of the season. Both teams have the night off before getting back after it tomorrow. Brian, thank you very much for taking this time and joining me.
Devin, my pleasure. You stay safe. Take care.
Now our Jace Mackey will take a look at your weather forecast.
Thanks a lot, Jasmine. As we take a look at our satellite and radar map right now, a lot of activity happening right now, a lot of cloud coverage. There's going to be some mix of rain and snow coming in from the north of the province through the Cold Lake area, coming into Lloydminster, and could be heading into the North Battleford area. Because of the heavy winds, that snow could be, or this rain or snow could be coming a little bit later on into the evening. As we take a look at temperatures across Alberta right now, 5 degrees up in Lac La Biche right now. In Cold Lake right now, we're sitting at 3 degrees, 0 degrees in Bonnyville, 1 degree in Marwayne and St. Paul, Vermilion, and Vegreville, 2 degrees out in Edmonton, 0 in Provost, or 0 in Wainwright, 1 degree, -1 in Provost and Macklin, also in Maidstone. As we continue to take a look at temperatures across Saskatchewan, -1 also up in Alacross, -3 in Green Lake, 2 degrees in Pearceland, 1 degrees in St. Walburg, -3 in St. Walburg. Sorry, that was what that was. Looking at the day tomorrow, -5 is a daytime high up in Alacross, -4 in Green Lake, -3 in Cold Lake and Pearceland, -4 in Meadow Lake and St. Walburg, -4 also down in Maidstone, -3 in Vermilion and Macklin. Here in Lloydminster, we're going to be sitting at -5. -5 is also going to be the daytime high in Marwayne. We're looking at -4 is the daytime high for Bonnyville, St. Paul, -3 for Vermilion and Vegreville, -2 for Wainwright and Provost, and 0 degrees tomorrow in Edmonton. Overnight tonight across the region, we're going to see icy conditions in Meadow Lake sitting at -7. Mix of rain or snow in Alacross and -6, -7 in Pearceland, -8 overnight in Bonnyville and at Paradise Hill. Unity is going to be sitting at -9, -8 overnight in Provost, -9 in Miriam, and -8 overnight in Wainwright. As we take a look at the national forecast, temperatures across the country sitting at +6 in Vancouver, 2 degrees in Edmonton, -4 in Regina, a chilly -20 in Winnipeg, -11 in Quebec City, -2 in Toronto. St. John's is sitting at 0 degrees and Halifax at -5. Up north in Iqaluit, they're sitting at -2 and -9 in Yellowknife, and we round things up in Whitehorse, sitting at 1 degrees nationally. As we take a look at the next 7 days here in Lloydminster, Wednesday is going to be, there's a chance of flurries, 46% chance, a high of -5 and a low of -8. -12 is the high on Thursday with a -16 for the low. There's a chance, 50% chance of snow on Friday and a high of 10 degrees. Snow continues, 71% chance on Saturday, sitting at -17 with a low of -21. Cold temperatures continue as we head into the next week. Starting on Monday, it's going to be -18 for the high, -23 for the low, -17 for the high on Tuesday, and -22 for the low. So as we head into the next week, temperatures get a lot chilly. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more news after the break.
Welcome back. When caring for people with dementia or memory loss, it can be easy for caregivers to put their own needs aside. Rebecca Day takes a look at a workshop designed to offer support to such caregivers.
I'm here with Patrick Lancaster, Manager of Social Programs and Services, to learn more about the Dementia Awareness Workshops, hosted by Family and Community Support Services Lloydminster and Caregivers Alberta. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So to start, can you give us a little information on what the web series is about?
Well, we're very excited about this web series. It's an 8-week-long webinar that is really going to focus on identifying dementia, some of the symptoms and signs, as well as really focusing on caregivers, some strategies around how to take care of yourselves as you're taking care of somebody who's experiencing dementia. So the course runs about 8 weeks, and we'll touch on everything from self-care, how to deal with guilt, how to deal with conflict, and we'll provide a lot of different tools for caregivers to work with.
Awesome. Is the workshop geared only towards caregivers, or can anyone, like the child of someone experiencing dementia, also benefit from it?
Oh, certainly. It would be very appropriate for caregivers, family members, professional caregivers. So often we are involved in the process of care, even indirectly if we're not directly taking care of someone or employed to take care of someone. There's a lot of useful information there that can be applied to a variety of different situations.
Awesome. So you mentioned that the series covers topics that focus on the caregivers and their needs, such as managing stress and dealing with prolonged grief. How important was it for this series to really focus on the caregivers' needs rather than simply just giving them more information on how to care for the person experiencing dementia?
Well, burnout and I guess fatigue are two really big issues for caregivers, and especially these days with people experiencing increased anxiety, increased stress, and increased isolation. We really felt that it was important to make sure that caregivers were supported, because they're the ones who are taking care of our most vulnerable, and we want to make sure that they're supported and able to provide the best care, but they have to care for themselves in that process as well.
And what do you hope attendees get out of the workshop at the end of it all?
Well, I hope everyone who attends learns something new. I hope they feel a little bit, get a bit of maybe re-energized as they engage with clients or family members. And most importantly, we hope that they come out with some good strategies on taking care of themselves and keeping themselves healthy.
Perfect. Where can people go to register and learn more about the web series?
Anyone who's interested in signing up can visit the City of Lloydminster website at lloydminster.ca/FCSS events. And there's an opportunity to register and to take in the webinar. That'll also allow you to get a notification if you miss one of the sessions and want to catch the recordings. We'll be emailing people using that registration information so that if they miss a session, they can get the recording and watch it at their leisure.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Excellent. You have yourself a good day.
Now we will take a look at your pet pad pictures. Thank you to everyone who submitted your pictures to our Facebook page, and we will be giving away a pet pad gift card on Friday.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Joining me currently, all the way from Edmonton, is one of the co-hosts of Edmonton Goes Off, or EGO, which is an online platform where every week local musicians are showcased in an effort to connect them with listeners as well as other musicians. David Medow, thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
For people who are unfamiliar with your platform, can you just give them a little bit of context or an explanation on what EGO is?
Yeah, it's a magazine with an issue every week, and basically it's an internet magazine, and we manipulate the Instagram format of 3 pictures in a row. So the first picture is the cover, basically, of if they were like physical copies, and we had a photo shoot with every artist that was involved, so that's usually involved with the cover. The second post is the performance. So we got them in a studio at Fava Studios. We had a hanging mic, and we got them to perform live in the studio, a song that it wasn't always of their preference, but like we would also be like, hey, I think we could work on this. And what we'd do is would add what's called their ego. So we would try and kind of give a visual representation of what we felt the vibe the artist gave off of. So one girl had this like kind of like her music is very like lush R&B kind of. I don't know if I would describe it as R&B, but it's very like slow and like, you know, heavy bodied, and it's very nice flowing music. So we put leaves and vines around her whole thing, and that was like her ego. And then the last post on the Instagram format would be the interview where they sit down with Urban Zoo, which is my show, which I mentioned before. So that involves me and Eli. So we split them in half the best we could, the artists. There's 15, so I got a bit more, and I did I did those interviews, Eli did his, and yeah, so it's all as one thing, but that's essentially what it is.
So obviously you guys are based out of Edmonton, but you're featuring a lot of artists from across the province or even the country, right?
Yeah, it's, you know, there are a lot, what I liked about it is a lot of the people are from very different walks of lives. One of the artists, for example, Just Mo, our first issue, he's in our first issue. He studies in Montreal at the National School of Theatre Arts. I think NTS, that's the name of it. I don't know if I got the acronym right per se, but he studies there, and he lives in Montreal. And 2 of the artists who are brothers, one is Moraine, he's a verified artist on Instagram, and the other one is Moto. They both live in Calgary.
So for any artists from Lloydminster who might be interested, you encourage them to hit you up?
Definitely, you guys aren't too far away, so why not just drive on up here and let's work on something. I'd love to. I like knowing as many people around as possible, and that was the great thing about this project is we find that when we're throwing events, is a lot of shows and stuff in Edmonton are very like, things can be very cliquey, like the same people that perform with the same people that hire the same people, but we really wanted to step out of the box and get people we hadn't worked with before. So yes, Lloydminster, we would love to see your guys' talent.
And to close, for anyone who's interested in checking out EGO, where should they go?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook. It's obviously not our strongest because, you know, not many people use Facebook, but definitely for those that don't have Instagram, because it was made for Instagram. So if you don't have Instagram, you can definitely check us out on Facebook. I know in the future we do plan to probably put full interviews and the rest of the performances on YouTube, but we will keep you in touch, everyone in touch with that. And then last but not least, obviously on Instagram at ego.zine, zine being spelled Z-I-N-E. Yeah, you can find us there, and be sure to follow each of the producers and all of the artists. Like there's so many now. I think we have, I don't know how many issues we have out now, but I definitely know it's more than 5. So Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for your time, David.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on another edition of Primetime Local News. Have a great night.